Please can we ask that everybody start moving in, please, so that we can continue with the program. If you're not seated in time, you're not going to win a prize. All right, guys, please make sure that you move in, take a seat. Even if you eat inside, that's okay. We're not going to moan at you. We don't want hangry attendees, so even if you're inside, that's also fine. All right, so we're quickly going to do a draw again, just to make sure that everybody is excited. So we're going to do a draw from Healing Sense Therapy Center. Let's see who wins the prize from there. They have sponsored a basic sensory toolbox.
Okay, 118.
118. 118. Please come claim your prize. Okay.
Okay,
All right, then we have the exhibitor Woekerhandjies. At Woekerhandjies, they try to help learners to play and learn both at the same time. Let's see who won that busy box.
Hoekom is jou nommer daar?
93.
Sorry. Number 93.
Do we have 93 in the house? "93, we're counting down. 93, are you outside? 93, did you leave?"
You snooze, you lose.
Okay, we're going to snooze, you lose. Let's see. Sorry, 93, 93. Gone. Sorry.
Okay. 23.
Sorry, we just had an ethical dilemma. She drew her own number. It took, we actually give her a hand of applause. It took a lot of courage to put her own number back.
Ze kom weer terug. 37.
37.
Number 37.
3 numbers away from 40. 37, are you here? Yay.
37.
God, no. No, 37. Oh my goodness, did you also leave? 37, 37.
Okay.
Your number's in the box and your number is gone. Yay, 44.
Okay. Oh man.
Okay. So you don't know it, but this is actually a hidden agenda to check if you guys are here. So remember, we're going to still do a draw at the end. All right. Now at 2 Tweed Street, there's amazing products, weighted products, and Dr. Ribeiro spoke about a worry worm. At Tweed Street, you can actually go and have a look. They have amazing worry monsters. So let's see who's the winner of a weighted lap pad.
47.
47. We're keeping it in the naughty 40s.
47.
47. See, those are all our naughty 40s, our ADHD ones. All right, so we're going to move on with the program. Remember, we're going to keep track of you with your number. All right, so our next speakers, we're going to start unpacking policies and ISPs and painting the process of the placement process. Oh my goodness, a lot of alliteration there. I know it's a dreaded topic for many of you when they ask you to please fill in that SNA 1 and 2, and you literally just want to start crying. Murray Moses has been in the education arena for more than 20 years, and he has experience in mainstream and also in special needs. He's currently the registered counselor at School of Achievement. He's going to unpack the policies for you. But at the same time, painting the picture is Nancy Mukadi. She is our district hero. When we have a problem, we phone her. She is the Ekurhuleni South District official. I put them in your hands, and please, I just want to quickly say something. They say the mind is like a parachute, best when it's open. So I invite you to, with an open mind, listen to the amazing information that will be shared with you just now.
Hello. Good morning, colleagues. I also don't like my voice. All right. Yes, and I know policies are very daunting and it's very long processes, but I want to make it very short. Okay. Okay. Why is that one not on? Okay. Can anyone tell me? Okay, but in any case, so we have policies that it's part of our legislative framework to guide the process of the CS. So first I want to just go to the Constitution. So what I've decided, I also have a list of slides, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to be very short and we'll just move on. Okay, so the Constitution basically said is that we have a right, the education is a fundamental human right. We all have a basic right to education. So it actually looks at non-discrimination, equity, diversity, and inclusivity. That's what it's all about. And the next one is about inclusive education. Inclusive education acknowledges that everybody, all the learners can learn, but they learn differently. As we heard by Dr. Ribeiro, we have special learners that have ADHD, and they can learn, but they just learn differently. Okay. Our next one is the CS policy, the one that we're going to talk about more in depth now. So it just has to do with the CS policies, the screening, identification, assessment and support for learners who have learning barriers, and just means to support them, but we'll talk about that later on. The next one is our South African Schools Act. It's promoting education for all the learners, emphasizing the rights of learners, teachers and parents. And then we have the, let me just check. I keep forgetting it. Okay. The care and support for teachers and learning. So it's just to promote teaching and learning, where we look at the health, the social and emotional challenges that children faces in school and in the environment. The next one, okay, that look at the class, the guidelines for curriculum diversity. That has more to do with assessment that we'll talk about later when we do our ISPs. But listening to Dr. Ribeiro, in terms of our ISP, it looks very different what Dr. Ribeiro explained to us in terms of what do we need to do as teachers in our classes. And I've learned a lot from her. Thank you, doctor. Okay. The integrated school health policy actually has to do with providing health services to school and also maintaining social, maintaining mental health among learners. So that's also very important. So I'm quickly going to go over to our next slide. So I really wanted to tell the story because it's all about our education system. So I was a teacher more than 10 years ago in a high school in the south of Johannesburg, where I taught this girl, the grade 8 learner. She was 18 years old. She couldn't read. She couldn't write. She could only write her name. So she left the school in the middle of the year because she was bullied, she was humiliated, and I never heard of her again. So when we look at the CS policy, we always try to look at the early identification. So as teachers, as therapists, as all the people, the professionals, we have to identify learners that have barriers to learning. We need to identify them earlier. Instead of like the girl that I was talking about, at 18 years old, she's nearly an adult already. So it's very important that we need to look at that early identification of learners who have learning barriers. And we all come from a community or society where there's lots of challenges in our schools. And then it's the role of the teacher to fill in the S&A. And I think that is where we also have a challenge. But as Dr. Ribeiro also said, is that we need to know the child, and that's very important. Do we know our children? Yeah, that's another it. And then we tell with one another that, okay, the curriculum is too much. We have to concentrate on the curriculum because there's so much time in the day. So I don't have time now to know the child. So it's very important to know your child at the beginning of the year, okay? And to know the parents also. We at School of Achievement usually have our introduction evening in the beginning of the year, inviting our parents so that we can know a little bit about the parents and the child also, or their children, okay? Moving along. So early identification is very important. So we have the CS policy. It's the framework for the standardization of the procedure to identify, assess for all learners who have learning barriers and need additional support. So support is the main word here. So we identify learners that have barriers to learning and we need to support them. Like I'm just going to refer back to doctor. The thing is, this is very, in terms of ADHD, it's very difficult to give support to all the learners, especially when they have ADHD, because I've learned a lot from what you need to do or what intervention plans. We basically have like the curriculum, adapt the curriculum, the content, the methodology. But what Dr. Ribeiro mentioned about all the different things that we can, our interventions that we can use in the class, actually that you can really use that intervention as part of your ISP. Because our profession is more normalized. You're supposed to do certain things in our profession and don't think out of the box. And I think it's very important that we need to, that was very valuable information, and I'm also going to learn from it. Sorry that I have to always come back and explain that to me. So it's the policy is about improving access to quality education for vulnerable learners, and also learners that are in ordinary and special schools that face lots of challenges, that have learning barriers, and children that are from a school-going age, that are out of school, that are supposed to be in school, that are not in school. That's also a challenge, and that's what we try to address. We have a lot of dropouts also. We have children that are not in school, so we need to find out what are they doing at home, because they are supposed to be at school. And this is the process that we need to follow in terms of the CS policy. Okay, now we're going to look at the summary of the stages of the CS. So the number one is the teacher. He screens at the beginning of the year or during admission and identify the learners using the learner profile. Do we all have a learner profile in your at your schools? Put up your hand if you do have one. Are we using it? Okay, that's good, because it will also give you an idea who is that learner in your class, or that person or that learner that you want to provide support to. So you need to know your learner, you need to know the child, and the learning profile it's a very good uh, it's a very good thing to use. It's also a legal document, so that learner have that learner profile from grade 1 up till grade 12. So that learner profile stays with you up till matric. So do we have high school teachers here? Do you have a learner profile? That's good. Thank you. All right. So the following documents will be in the learner profile: your admission form, doctor's reports, and also the school, the medical form, where they have the immunization and all that information. Also the integrated school health program, where you have information from the psychologist or the therapist, and also schoolwork, evidence of schoolwork, the children's school reports, and also information of the learner, or the reports of the teachers currently involved in the learner. So it's all the information that the teacher needs from the other teachers also. So when a learner has been identified as being a risk of having a barrier, all this information are jotted down or in the learner profile, and the teacher is actually now the case manager. So the teacher will now proceed with that information. So it's also very important to know that the parent and the teacher will continuously be involved in that process. Before that process, it's important to get consent from the mother to interview the learner, and also that you also need to give consent from the parent to interview them. Okay, so consent is very important when we do that. So the teacher will start with the SNA, filling in SNA 1, that most of us like to do, no? Do you agree? Okay, all right. Yeah, so these are the teacher will fill in the SNA 1 with the assistance of the parent, obviously. So they're going to look at areas of concern. So the teacher will verify the information from the parent, and then let me just go. Sorry, the teacher will verify his findings by discussing it with the parent, and that also will determine if there was earlier interventions. So independent or learning support program is organized by the teacher to provide support to the learner. So if the teacher finds out that that support was inadequate or not enough, then that teacher will refer the learner to the school-based support team. Okay. So the SNA2 forms the guidelines, forms guides for the school-based support team when a learner is referred to them. So a review is done of the teacher identification of barriers and intervention applied. So what the SBST wants, they want to know that the teacher did all the things that he's supposed to do to support the learner. And so a plan of action through which the teachers could strengthen the support with the help of in-house specialists or teachers who have wide range of experience. So it's very important that when we have a SBST, there needs to be people that also have experience in learning support, or people that have knowledge of with children with learning support disabilities, or not abilities, learning challenges, not that word, okay. So, if you look at all those processes, if there is no support, or if they also find that support was not adequate or enough, then they referred that to the DBST for further assessment. Okay, so before we give over to my colleague, it's important that we need to look at one or two things. That the SBST, it's very important in our schools. It guides the support structure in the schools in terms of learning support, if children needs that. So this is an example of a SBST meeting by one of our teachers. So it's actually minutes of a meeting, and that's actually a legal process that we have done. And then what was discussed was a lot of things. Attendance record is also kept. Matters arising from the previous minutes, matters for discussion, academic, psychosocial. It's important that we need to, when the SBST meets, it's not only about academics. It's also because inclusion is about everything, the holistic view of the child, including the parents. So it's very important that these SBST meetings must be compulsory at schools, because the duty, that's the duty of the school principal. He must establish that school-based support team. He or she can also be part of that. A member of the SBS of the SMT must be there. One educator in each phase must also be there, and also people that have skills in learning support can also be on the SBST. So that's very important. Can I, by the show of hands, how many people have SBSTs at school? Okay, that's good. So it's very important that we need to have SBSTs. So that's so that we're going to know more about our learners, more about our parents, and that's going to guide us so that we can get over to the CS policy. I'll give over to my colleague. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Moray. Colleagues, good afternoon once again. You know, my part is very nice and good because I'm playing relay with Moray, so I don't have to do anything, just to continue from what Moray has actually left us with. But before I carry on, I would like to introduce myself again. I'm Nancy Mokadi, ISS, Senior Educational Specialist at Ekurhuleni South District. I would like to acknowledge my colleagues that have joined us in the midst. Colleagues, you just have to stand up when I call your name. I have Ms. Sundlane Cynthia, also from ISS, working with Secretary. Thank you. I have Ms. Nobantu Moya, ISS Secret 1. Nobantu is our accommodation boss at the district office. So when you see Nobantu, you see accommodation. I have also Ms. Mavuntla Mita, ISS Secret 2 in our midst. Colleagues, thank you so much for the support. Without any waste of time, colleagues, Moray already spoke about the CS processes. He did make mention of the SNA 1 and 2. Those are the most important documents. I think because I'm a teacher. Can you hear me? Because I'm a teacher, I always speak very loud and people think I'm shouting. But the SNA 1 and 2 colleagues is the most important part of your referral process, because the SNA 1 and 2 must actually give us the true reflection of the learner. It must actually paint a picture of a child, which comes to my part where they said I must paint. The good thing is that they did not actually tell me which paint, color, and brush must I use. So colleagues allow me to just use one paint and paint everything. When you fill in your SNA 1, colleagues, you have to be honest, so that we don't end up doing a misdiagnosis of a child and place a child in a wrong school, because we are only working with the information that we receive from the school, that we are very sure that the SPST, because we see you are functional, that you have set and you have actually agreed that now it is the time that we go and outsource or request intervention from the district side. When your documents reach the district office, we look at the information from all professionals. Remember, most of you will refer with the full package. Your psych report, your OT, your speech, your neuro, your any other professional diagnosis. Therefore, the district-based support team will sit and complete the SNA 3, which is the support need assessment form that will actually have to come up with a strategy of how the school has to assist the learner in the challenges or the areas of identification. In the SNA 3, we have different model or level of the support strategies that we will look at. But remember, the outplacement of a learner is the last resort. And I'm glad because Dr. Ribeiro also mentioned in her field of specialization, medication for ADHD child is the last resort. So we are not the only people that say the last resort. It doesn't mean we are running away from completing our responsibilities. It's just that we're saying, let us give the child an opportunity to be in the school and be supported enough. When we realize that we have done everything that we could possibly do for this child to be in our school, then we can consider the outplacement. And the most important part and exciting part is Dr. Ribeiro actually covered our ISP. How do we draw an individual support plan at the school level for a child who has got certain behavior in the class? So we are mostly covered because we're going to get the presentation at the end of the session. But what happens with our SNA 3? Then we start to sit and say, what does Nancy Mukadi now want? The low or the moderate or the high need support? In case where the learners need a low level of support, we would normally encourage or recommend that the school keeps the child at the school and support the child. We know sometimes we're fighting because they said, what do you want me to do because I've done everything? Colleagues, we're just giving the child an opportunity to explore through learning. Then we would either recommend that you apply for accommodation. Accommodation means if you've got your ADHD child, your autism child that is functioning at the high or superior functioning of cognitive intellectual, you can apply accommodation for separate venues so that the child does not get distracted when they are writing assessments. You can also apply, the doctor mentioned the noise plaque, which also form part of a huge fight between the schools and the district and the parents. Because parents will bring a certain device and say, but my doctor said she must wear it. We allow them, Dr. Ribeiro, to wear them. But then they must apply and get approval so that we don't have to be questioned to say, why is Nancy wearing a certain thing in the ear? I know sometimes they've got a noise block gel that they will put in their ear just to block the noise, but it's very expensive. Most of the parents doesn't really afford it. So we appreciate the fact that you are writing in our recommendation list to say the child needs an earplug so that she does not get easily distracted. We give them a separate venue if we are more resourceful in our schools, whereby a child will sit in a separate room with the invigilator and do their work. should it happen that the child has got a very small age group difference when it comes to the performance of the grade level. You find you've got a grade 3 child that is 9 years but has got like a 6-year-old intellectual. We don't put those children in a special school, but we recommend accommodation for extra time so that the child can have enough time to complete the given set of assessment standards to reach or meet the promotion level of the grade. We also offer accommodation for those learners that can read, but they are scribbling. I don't want to call the medical term because I've got lots of doctors in the audience, but they know who I'm talking about. The child understands, but when she has to take the information to the picture, then it doesn't really make sense. But when you put the child down and you said, what is the cat doing? The child will be able to tell you the cat is jumping on the mat. Now the teacher comes in as a scribe for that particular child. But it needs also a recommendation from a professional to say Nancy needs to be scribed when she writes exam because she can understand, but she is unable to put the information on paper. We also do the reader, where we have learners that cannot read, but they know how to respond in writing. So those kind of learners will have a personnel to read, and then they can write the answers on their own. But we normally combine the two, where a child will get a reader and a scribe. It takes a lot of human manpower or personnel manpower in schools, and we are fighting a lot with our principals to say, now when it's exam, my entire team must go and do reader and scribe, and my whole school is occupied because those reader and scribe learners need to have also a separate venue so that they don't disturb each other. But fortunate enough, we've got the IT session sector that has developed an exam portal for us that makes it very easy, where a child will listen to the voice recording during the exam, and then the scribe can just scribe as the child is giving answers verbally. We would also have learners that requiring a moderate level of support. Those learners are either placed in a special school. We normally fight with School of Achievement. When the principal left, I said maybe we must change the name of the school because the Prestasi school. Everybody that goes to an educational psychologist and they say your child has got learning problem, the child must go to Prestasi in the entire province. But now we had the history when Mem van Niekerk actually gave us the profile of the school. Some of us didn't know why is it Prestasi and why is it in high demand, because maybe we owe it to the community that have built it for us, but unfortunately the child needs to meet a certain learning disability to come to Prestasi school, which is an SLD. We also have an MID, level of functioning, where we take our learners and we place them in the special school. When they are below the age of 13, we place them in the Elson class, which is a learning support educational needs class, where they will do the curriculum differentiation. And when they reach age 14, we exit them to a TOC, which is a technical occupational curriculum, where they will learn both writing and practical. I always say that to the parents. The only unfortunate part about our MID learners is that in most cases we are taking their matric away from them, in a sense that we fight with schools and parents, because you will find a grade 1 child who comes from Limpopo, is now enrolled in a school that is doing English home language and Afrikaans FAL. Now this child has never had that language. It's like a Greek, it's like Portuguese to the child. Now before the child even finished the year, then we get the referral to say this child cannot do anything now, the child must go to an Elson class. Then we would say to the teacher, unfortunately, we cannot grant an ELSA number, support the child. In other words, you're going to do the phonetic awareness, you're going to do the reinforcement in every activity that you do. Unfortunately, teachers, I am also a teacher, so I know how we are pressed with the SBAs and how we must cover a certain percentage of activities where our HOD will count one by one and say 45 lesson covered right. But Nancy that has covered 25 lesson and actually did an actual work whereby a learner has grasp will always get into trouble. So we are always working for compliance, which is a very unfortunate part. But in most cases, when the schools are more resourced, they will have like the booster classes in the afternoons where learners will have to sit and do those booster activities to boost their language development. Then, when the child reaches the high school level, they go to a TOC. The level of TOC curriculum normally ends at the grade 9 level. We always in the Austin class because curriculum is going to be very easy. Now the child is performing in the Austin class. Now comes high school. The parents want the child now to go to a normal high school. Unfortunately, it does not work like that. The child will go to a TOC, and then we are already deprived. We have already deprived that learner the opportunity to have matric. The most schools have also reached to the conscious level to say we are not doing justice by children here just for grade 9. We have actually Department of Education where a learner will or their special with a matric certificate. A learner her studies either at the TVET college or at the where the child can get an employer go and look for a job. This year, or 4 years, they've introduced the GEC some other schools because it has been assessed according to the standard of our. When the child is grade 9 and has a GEC certificate because of the age, we normally advise the parents to apply. At the TVET college, the educational studies, therefore, be deprived. So we don't have a school for. Unfortunately, they have to go and they will have to do their events and whatever. So to be doors tomorrow. To be doors tomorrow. Then we have the ADHD functioning at the SID level. Those will be placed in schools that are offering AES. Actually outsource. Some of them are not. Some of them are not. But in the middle of some of them are not. But in the middle of lifetime, something happened and the mother or the father passed. Not necessarily in the grade level. Any form of abuse. Schools, colleagues, we are dealing with learners that are really being exposed to so many things. Substance abuse. Don't even want to. Form 22 that will report to the form of abuse or form of the neglect that the SD, and then we see our ISS support official so that they can come up with immediate intervention. Normally, they will inform the subs if it needs the subs, because the social development knows how to categorize and how to actually respond. Some learners will need removal from their parents. They will do so on our behalf, so there is no need for teachers and principals to really go hysterical because now the child came and say, I have been raped on my way to school. You just complete the form, send it to the DSD, they will respond and they know exactly who to talk to. You will find in response where the parents or the teachers are emotionally frustrated, they will put the child in the buggy or in the car and take the child to the police station. We don't do such. Fortunately, we have the subs for each and every school. I hope the schools in Ekurhuleni South are here. In my district, we have subs, adopt a corp. Every school has got a police official responsible for them. There are telephone numbers for those officials. When you have got any safe threat or anything that you feel like it can cause any harm to your school, you phone them on their cell phone. They will respond according to their special. Because if you report the matter to the ISS, the child brought a knife to school. Sure, then the ISS official will still have to go and find out who can go to school. But if you've got your adopt cop police and you've got the telephone numbers and everything, you are safe. Incident reporting. Each and every incident that happens in the school setting must be reported. We are trying to refrain from getting incidents from the social media. And when MEC come to schools, then the teachers and the principals are hysterical, and then the district does not support us and we don't know what to do. Therefore, we say report every incident to the district so that you can get immediate response and support that you need. Right, the challenges that we have, colleagues. Sure, as a district, and I'm sure the schools, if my schools are here, they will attest. Nowadays, we don't follow CS process because of the parents. Parents are identifying their own children. We don't know. You know, the parent will come with a heap of a file with all the documentation there and said, I want my child to go to that school. Prestasi school. You say we've got Viaka Duplessis, we've got all other SLD near. My doctor said the remedial school, and it's that school that has got a very beautiful garden when you walk past the road. Colleagues, it is a huge challenge whereby the schools will give up and say, go to the district. And they come to the district, the School of Achievement is full. Then they go to head office, and head office come up with a plan for a sister school. Colleagues, special school, Prestasi. I always say to my parents when they are angry, there is nothing magic that happens in the school like School of Achievement. School of Achievement is following the CAPS curriculum, just like any other school. They are only successful because of the small class that they have, according to the ratio, because every learning disability has got a weighting. So when you are at public ordinary school and you're sitting with 40 learners, School of Achievement will sit maybe with 25 or 28 according to the weighting of the learner. Some are weighting 5, some are weighting 3, some are weighting 2. So they collect it and they give them a teacher ratio. They will also be successful because they have therapists on site that will assist them in any form of psychosocial challenge that the child is encountered with. But School of Achievement is a resource center for Ekurhuleni South District. Therefore, in order for us to outsmart School of Achievement as a public ordinary school, we keep our learners in the school. We come here, we outsource the therapists, and we go back and we outsmart them we beat them at their own game, because they will unpack the ISPs and everything, how we must do it. Then we say to the parent, you don't have to make our role fall. We keep your child here, we're gonna do the same thing that School of Achievement is gonna do, and your child is going to benefit. Colleagues, I think I'm gonna come to the end of my presentation. If there's any question, there is a QRI barcode. We're going to respond to the question at the end of the session. I would like to hand over to our program director. Thank you.
I'm just going to ask Karina to please hand over the pen to Nancy. And sorry, Nancy, we have to call you back. Just a thank you, a small gift from School of Achievement, just to say thank you. I think everybody can walk away with something, definitely. Thank you so much. All right, our next prize is from SA Toy Trade. They make learning inspiring and fun. Number 207, 207. Is 207 still here? Going. Gone. All right, let's draw a next number. 195. We know that you are leaving. Oh, we have you. All right, the prize from Stitched at Home. They are manufacturers of fine motor pouches and all the way up to therapy games. They have a wide range of things. And the number that one is? 227. All right, and then we have therapy bags. So they have a wide range of weighted products that you can even put in the microwave. So let's see who's the winner. 212. 212.
Hello, hello. So, is everyone tired? Do you need a stretch? Are you okay? Okay. So, I'm going to give you a lot of practical strategies. And my name is Elsie. I'm a counselor. I work with ADHD and autistic learners, children, teenagers, and young adults daily. And I am autistic myself. And the first reaction I usually get is, "You don't look autistic." So, I'm very good at hiding it. But anyway, so I actually went and spoke to my colleague, Leon, who's a counselor as well. She's an autistic ADHDer. I spoke with my husband, who's ADHD, and I spoke with my brother, who's a diagnosed ADHDer. And we compiled all of these things based on what we've learned with our clients, so with the children and teenagers who are actually going to school and needing ways to accommodate themselves and support themselves and how their brain learns differently. And so all of the things I'm going to be talking about is tried, tested, we use it every day, and we recommend it to the clients that we work with. Okay, so before we start, let's just put everything into perspective that we did today, okay? Think of that one vegetable, that one food, that one drink that you hate, that one thing that you just cannot seem to force yourself to eat, okay? Mine is Brussels sprouts. I don't care about your grandmother's recipe and how you put it in cream and cheese, and I can't stand it, okay? But what if you sat there and you just tried a little bit harder to eat it? You just added the cheese, you just added the cream. Would you be able to start liking that thing that you've never, ever, ever liked, and everything about it grosses you out? You probably would struggle with that, and there would be a point that you come to where you just give up because you just don't like it. You don't have control over whether or not your body likes that thing. You want to appease your grandma, so you try and eat it, but you just don't like it, okay? And that's how some of our learners and their brains work. We can try and we can force them to try harder and sit still and pay more attention and point it out, but sometimes our body decides for us, and it's not how we learn. It's not part of our preferences, so keep that in mind. No matter how hard you try, your dyslexic learner is not going to get better at reading just by reading more and more and more and keeping on practicing. Okay, so that's just the thing that we need to keep in mind. So if you look at this picture, and I know my mom has been a teacher for, I think, around 30 years at this point. So you know that learner in the class who's just lying over the table, half asleep, or on the other side of things is climbing off the walls all over the place, right? And we don't necessarily have these pictures of that learner in the back there as the one that's paying the most attention, as Zara said earlier as well, as Dr. Ribeiro said, right? So what you need to keep in mind as well, and I know this from her experience as a teacher, and the things that we've talked about, is nothing is personal. Your learner is not trying to irritate you on purpose. They're not trying to look disinterested or bored because you're boring. Sometimes it's just the content of the work that's not their interest. Like some people like math and you prefer English. We're all different. And whatever sparks our curiosity is different. So it's not personal. Keep that in mind. If some other teacher has amazing success with a specific learner and in your class that learner just comes in and lies on the table and takes a nap, it's not personal, okay? Sometimes our brain processes differently, and to be able to support our learners, we need to keep these three things in mind, okay? The first one is executive functioning skills. So these are the things that we've been talking about, but not necessarily labeling today, that the ADHD learners are maybe struggling with. So these are things like organizing, planning, following instructions, because there may be delayed responses and delayed processing in the brain, but it's okay. It's normal. We can work around this, okay? So those executive functioning skills, we're going to look at how to support those. I also I'm going to just tell you a little bit about sensory profiles. I'm not an occupational therapist. I'm a counselor, and I would strongly recommend that if you have a child who you notice these sensory things that we're going to be talking about coming up, you refer to an OT and they can help you make sense of what's happening, because it's a lot to unpack and figure out by yourself. So, sensory profiles are like 4 types of sensory processing. That it's a general assessment that OTs do just to help you understand what type of sensory information and sensory processing a learner finds best, okay, how their brain works, what works for them. So that learner that's always riding on their chair, no matter what you do, they're always busy, always moving. Some people would describe, and the OTs maybe would describe as a sensory seeker. So their body needs movement, and that movement's going to regulate them, and it's actually going to help them concentrate. So for you, sound may be very irritating. You can't listen to music. You need quiet. For a different learner who's a seeker, they may need more sensory input to be able to regulate and focus. Okay? And then you have students who actively avoid it. You know, the ones who shut their ears off or close their ears, especially the little ones, when there are loud noises, try to completely avoid it. And then we also have learners who just seem to zone out. So you're trying to make it interesting, engage everyone, and there's a learner who's zoning out, not even maybe reacting when you're calling their name. And that is also part of the sensory profiles. That's a type of sensory processing. And for that learner, we would make classwork even more exciting, more engaging. Okay, so keep in mind that just because you see a learner lying over their desk or riding their chair, it does not mean that they are not listening or that they're really bored. It means maybe their body needs something. So we're going to look at practical ways to incorporate all of these things. Okay, so when you start the year and you're setting up your space, there are a few things we can look at. The first one, and Dr. Ribeiro already talked about this, is, can you hear me? Okay, what I would describe as additions to the stationery list. So it's nice to have some of these in your class, but I actually want the children to all have, like she said as well, all have access to these tools. And some days children are going to use some of these and some days they are not. And they don't have to constantly, day by day. I had a teacher ask me this week, does she need to be on the ball or chew the gum the whole day? And no, they do not. A child will know when they need something and they will use the tools when they need it. So some things that have been the most beneficial to my clients specifically are sticky notes, because you can put a sticky note on everything. If there's something inside the book that you need to pay attention to when you go home, let's put a sticky note on top of it, okay? So that's one Leon, my colleague, actually recommended. And then there are things that we've already talked about, like earplugs. When it gets too noisy or it gets too distractible what's happening outside of the class, we put in earplugs. We can use things like an exercise ball to sit in. We've talked about movement breaks, but you'll actually find that incorporating movement into the lessons is as much as a boost as a movement break. So you can schedule it, or you can have a child sit on a wobble cushion or an exercise ball, those normal gym exercise balls, and that's where you can start and actually incorporate movement for those learners that want to move their bodies and regulate when they're moving their bodies this way. Another thing she talked about is the flavored gum, using a lot of color, like colored highlighters, pencils, resistance bands, so the stretchy bands on the chairs, the chewy jewelry that you can buy. And she said as well, but Temu and Shein, all of those sort of stores have them for much, much cheaper than you can find them here, and usually in bulk, if the class wants to put an order in together or anything like that. And then the stress balls and the fidget toys that you can actually hold while you're doing work with your other hand, while you're writing, or sometimes even a weighted lap pad. And a funny thing that Elian added is erasable pens if typics are not allowed, because your brain is going so fast, there will be mistakes that are made. And instead of worrying about how you're going to cross this out, how you're going to fix it, just erase, continue, and we're not maximizing those small little blips that happen throughout the day. Okay, so the next one, and I actually told a colleague of mine earlier when we were talking in the break, that I went through an entire, set of batteries in my visual timer in a month, because I set it so much throughout the day. And using things that are visual are going to decrease that uncertainty and then feelings of unsafeness or unpredictability in the classroom. So if we don't know what to expect, what we have to do, let's minimize it and use things like visual timers. So you set a time and everyone can see exactly how much time is needed, especially if you have some of those ADHD learners that are a bit time blind and can work on something for a short amount and feel like it's a long time, or those learners that are constantly asking you, When's break? When's break? How much longer until it's break? What are we going to do after this? And then when is break going to happen? Okay, so a nice way to work through this is, for example, if there are questions like that happening, to color code the little arms of the clock with a symbol that you can use to symbolize break time, and you can add it to the clock and they can easily just check it throughout the day, especially for the younger learners, this works well. Or like we said, set a timer. Another one that we actually use in my house is setting up a calendar somewhere where everyone sees it daily. So for example, on the fridge, you have your monthly calendar. In front of the class, on the board, you have it where everyone can see it every day, and you mark largely in little, signs, whatever you do, you mark the important things that are happening soon. So people can check in, and again, that time blindness set in, and before you know it, a month has gone past, and you haven't started on your assignment. So your students can see exactly, oh, something's coming up this week, and you can have it there all the time and not forget about it, okay? Because once it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And that happens a lot in our sessions, at our home, and so on. So another thing is something that you'll see there, the little blue hanging sign, where you can literally plan out and show every activity to your ADHD learners that will be happening throughout the day. So if you have those autistic ADHDers that are already maybe a bit nervous, they need that predictability to feel safe, they need to mentally prepare for when math is today because I don't like math, they can see what's up there and plan accordingly. And you can plan if there's something needed, like a movement break, or something needed where they need additional support with a specific task. You can give them an opportunity to plan. And like Roberto said, self-advocate for that, okay, which we'll talk about. So the one thing that actually changed my one client's, I want to say life, because at one point she was getting in a lot of trouble. She's a little 8-year-old girl, and she's very feminine, and she's very quiet, and she does her work, but when break time comes, she's been masking all of her ADHD and autistic symptoms so much, and signs so much, that she becomes very aggressive. So if there's a boy that kicks her with a ball, and it hits her, there's a full-on fist fight happening, and then everybody needs to jump in. So what we've started to do, because she feels like she can never get to the point, other people are interrupting her in class, she doesn't know how to ask for help, it's very overwhelming, we started introducing little printable cards. So you don't have to worry about making these at all, because if you scan the QR codes that are around, you'll find a digital PDF with everything that's printable, so you can literally, if you want to use any of the tools I'll be talking about, you can literally print it out, laminate it, use it, it's ready to go in the class, even some worksheets we'll talk about. And so every set of children can have one of these cards, and she has one of these sets of cards now. So there are 4 cards. One that you'll see on the end is like a I need space card. So this is to help her communicate, especially in a busy classroom when we can't give that one-on-one attention to every learner. This is to help her communicate that she needs space. If the teacher sees that she has taken her little sign, put some press stick on it, and put it on front of her table, we know that we can leave her alone. She's in the zone, she's working, or she's irritated. She doesn't want other people to bother her. And we can check out if there are other learners walking by, lingering, irritating her. We know that she is actually asking for some space, some alone time, or she's hyper-focusing, she's in the zone, okay? So if the I need space one, we need a time or time out or time break one where she puts that on, and we know if she leaves the class, she's just taking a break, okay? Nothing's wrong. She's self-advocating that she needs some space. She's maybe going to the bathroom. She's maybe just standing outside and breathing. But then we know, okay, she's speaking up for what she wants. The third one is help, and we talked about that earlier, where help could be many types of things. I don't know how to ask for something. I don't know what's wrong, but I'm getting very irritated. I need you to listen to me. I need you to help me with a specific part of the work. Any type of assistance. They put the little help sign on, and the teacher knows to go check in with her and sit down and ask her questions and figure out what's happening and how they can help her. And this especially took so much weight off of her, because now when the teachers see she's put up that little card, they need to check in and something is not okay. And it's actually been helping with so much, from actually helping her voice something that she disagreed with a classmate, instead of, again, getting into a fist fight maybe later on, to literally not understanding a piece of work. So she goes, uses that card, and it's actually been changing things a lot. Okay, let's type here. And then the last one is, I need to say something. She's a very sensitive girl in terms of how when other people interrupt her, I almost want to say overshadow her in the class, she will pull back. She doesn't feel safe anymore, so she's rather going to learn to people please, be quiet, get through it, and not be in the limelight or get targeted at a later point. So introducing an I need to say something card has also allowed the teacher and other students to call on her and say, oh, would you like to add something? Do you have a question? So we're actually giving her back her voice that she feels she cannot access a lot of the time in class. Okay. Another thing, and I think we've all talked about it at this point now today, is that beginning of the year getting to know your student. And you'll see one of the little worksheets in the printable file is a meet the student page. And I feel like this would be a nice activity even for first day of school, a nice icebreaker, where every student can bring a picture of themselves, add their strengths, add what they want from the teacher that year, whether that's support of something, add what they struggle with, add what they love. And that's just a nice entryway in getting to know your specific student, and even for them to get to know each other. If you want to put it up, if you want to keep it private, you know, that's always difficult to manage and see how your class is and what you feel would work for your class. But there is a Instagram account, and it has quite a funny name. It's Tinkles Her Pants. But if you go to Tinkles Her Pants, she's a mother with 2 autistic ADHD children. And I saw her starting to do this, and now we've been doing it as well at our practice and helping the children do this with their teachers, because it's really changed how much the teachers notice and how they plan to start the year and what they can do from the beginning to minimize the crisis that always comes this part of the year, right? When everyone's tired and the work has not been going well and no one knows what to do, everyone's burnt out. Now you're setting up to begin with more information than you also would have. And the next one, like we've said, is setting up that break zone or that calming corner. So in the printouts, there's a checklist, and you can type or you can look up and down and see, because every children needs something else. So my guidelines would always be to have something crunchy to snack on. That could literally be an apple, just because that's a very calming sensory activity for children's proprioceptive sense system. We can also do something like drink water. You know, these are very common things that children will have access to, like a bottle of water. They can listen to music, do deep breathing exercises for the young ones. And I myself find deep breathing exercises so boring. We just introduce something like bubbles, okay? Just sit outside, blow bubbles, or even sit in a beanbag, because that's actually also a sensory, calming sensory activity where it provides deep pressure input for a child, okay? So these things that look fun to a child can actually have these benefits. Okay. I will say, however, what would make your life as a teacher and the parents' life and everybody's stress levels go down and make life easier is where it's possible, I know it's not possible everywhere, to have 2 sets of different things. One set of things that can stay at home, let's say colored pencils or pencils to write with and an eraser, and one set that can stay at school. Because you know the ADHD kids are going to forget something at some point or another. And like we said, it's not personal, it's just going to happen. All kids forget things at some point. So if you don't have to worry about having to complete this assignment for tomorrow, but I forgot this at school or this in my locker, if you have those 2 sets, I've actually been doing this in my life, and it's a game changer. You don't have to worry about the small things, you just take, you know, the things that change every day with you. I know that's not always economically viable, but it really, where you can do it, it helps a lot. So that is basically setting up the space, okay? That's where we start beginning of the year. But there are things that you can literally do throughout the day, every day, to help regain that focus and support, like we said, the emotional regulation that's going to come from paying attention to the sensory differences, and also supporting executive functioning skills, okay? I don't know if any of you have heard of alertness levels. You've all definitely noticed it, okay? Like we said, it's a child coming into class and sleeping immediately on the table, or it's a child coming in after break time and everyone blames the Coke that they had or the icy that they had with all the food coloring and the sugar, and they're on top of the walls and they can't sit down. But actually, we all are constantly throughout the day balancing our alertness levels. When we're sitting here and we're falling asleep, we're trying to wake ourselves back up when we take a break and we get a snack and we go to the bathroom so we can focus better when we come back. Or when we're super excited after we had our break and we come back from lunch and we sit down, we're trying to settle ourselves in again so we can focus. So this happens with children as well, and it's a natural thing that happens. We need to find that balance, because if we're balanced, we're going to concentrate. And here is where all of these activities that we've been talking about come in. If you see that a child is lying and sleeping on a table, get them to move, get them up. Play some music if you have the younger classes, the foundational phases, get them up, play some music, dance, do all of those fun things, incorporate music, louder noises, movement, all of those things that are going to wake the children up, okay? Stretches, anything like that. Play a game, and of course, you can even have a board up where each child gets a choice each day, and you can make turns where everyone chooses an activity or a song to dance on or something like that. And then, of course, before we continue with our work, we want them to get back into focus mode so we can do something. And like I said, deep breathing can be so boring for the kids. So what I actually do is teach them to take a big breath and just sigh. Just do the biggest sigh you can possibly do, because that's going to activate the body's rest response again, bring our alertness levels down, and we're going to focus. So again, in your printouts, you don't have to worry about remembering anything, because there's literally a checklist of things you can try in your class to boost that alertness levels up, get them to wake up, or to bring it down. And there are things for different ages, so play around and see what works. There are group-based activities. And then you can literally see, at the end of the day, let's boost it back up, let's do a fun activity, let's take a break and calm it down. And these are especially helpful for our kids who need that movement to be able to concentrate and focus. Okay. And then this one. So we've talked about all of the distractions, right? Things outside that can distract the learners, things in the class, other learners that are disrupting each other. But the actual space where the children are learning at, their desk, their bag, if you open that school bag at the end of the day, can be dysregulating. So if you have that bag and nothing is where you feel like it's going to be, are you going to be excited to continue with your homework that afternoon or continue with your work the next day? If you can't find anything, you wanted to do something, now you don't know where it is, now you're overwhelmed, now you stop. Okay, that procrastination is actually a coping skill like we talked about earlier. So getting a time, maybe right after break time when we come back, we're refocusing in class, to just declutter your space. Take all your papers, throw it in the dustbin. Get your bag, throw away what you don't need. Rearrange your table, get it right for the next session of learning. That's super, super helpful. Because all of us, after we've spring cleaned our houses, feel a bit better. It's like that weight is lifted, okay? And then we've talked about the alerting breaks and the grounding break. So after we've come back from something that was energizing, we always want to make sure we ground those children back, we calm them back down, because we also don't want a super excitable class. If everyone was laughing and dancing, we want them to be able to focus. So doing something like a sigh or a deep breath or even slow stretches can be super helpful, but these are the practical tools that you can apply throughout the day when you recognize it's needed, so we can go from there. Okay, the most important thing, we can use all of these tools, we can do everything perfectly. There's still going to be a day that some things are not working for some learners. And we can make assumptions like we need to do to stay on track, we can do our best. But at some point, we need to teach our learners these skills to use for themselves, okay? We need to empower them to speak up for when they need something, because at the end of the day, they know best what they need. So, first of all, a nice way as well to ground and get everyone's focus for the day and get them ready is to literally sit together as a class. Everyone gets their planners or their school diaries or whatever out, and you go through whatever is needed that day in your diary. Okay? So we go and together we plan out what we need to do for this day, this week, and this is actually teaching a skill of preparing for difficult tasks, or even breaking down more difficult tasks into how we're going to tackle those difficult tasks in shorter bursts or shorter or smaller parts throughout the week, okay? So again, we're actually, by doing this every morning, teaching them to start doing it themselves. We can also use, and this has also been a real game changer for one of my clients, is using a whiteboard with, you know, a little erasable whiteboard that you can buy at Crazy Store, anything like that. Keep it on your desk, and instead of always wanting to jump in, you know, those excessive talkers who always want to participate, write down your comment, your question, whatever you want to say on a whiteboard, and then we can go around when the teacher's done and look at it, and you won't forget what you say. So we're not dismissing their voice, we're just trying to help facilitate it if everyone wants something to say. Or if they have a question, And we're trying to use that ADHD strength of curiosity and creativity, right? We're trying to engage them. So participate and write down your questions and even hold it up on the board for the teacher to see. Okay? So this can be used in a variety of ways. I don't know if any of you have ever seen those paddle boards where you hold up a paddle and it's like a green thumbs up for yes or a red thumbs down for no. Those are also, I think I saw it on Temu the other day for something like, I think it was 300 down for 50 sets. So you can split it with a few people. And to engage the learners in class, have them thumbs up or thumbs down certain things when you're asking questions. Instead of everyone shouting, use things because it makes the children participate more in the sessions and it gives them their voice, but you still as a teacher maintain that control, because I know it can be a lot when there are certain learners with a lot of things to say and then certain learners you want to incorporate into the lessons but who never say anything. Okay. And we've touched on those written instructions with steps. So we've touched on that idea of scaffolding, all of the instructions that you give. But another nice way to just do it is keep the written instructions on the board. Keep it step by step, small pieces, and they can literally go check it off when they see it on the board. So a nice way, again, to teach your students to actually do this and teach them to scaffold themselves is with the SAMES method. So there's an autistic woman who is an autistic and ADHD coach, so kind of like a neurodivergence coach in the US, and she works one-on-one with clients, and she talks about specifically how procrastination is a coping skill. Okay, so when, like Dr. Ribeiro said, the children are sitting there and you're giving them this instruction and there are so many bits and pieces and moving parts and you can't figure out how to start, that procrastination kicks in where you just see a child lying on a couch, sitting in the class and twiddling their thumbs or playing with something and not engaging. And that procrastination is actually protecting them from that emotional overwhelm. So when we use the STAIRS method, we're actually teaching them to break down those activities by themselves by drawing the set of stairs. Okay? So basically, usually, of course, you can alter it. It's your activity and your life and your lesson, but usually 4 steps have worked well for us. So you draw your little 4 steps, and at the top where you want to be, we write down the big assignments. So let's say we want to be able, for all the learners, I do this a lot, we want to be able to sit down and actually start typing out that assignment that you need to hand in. Okay? So now we backtrack, now we go down the stairs to the points on the floor where we need to begin from. So on the second to top step, we would add something like create the cover and table of contents. Much easier than writing the actual content, but it's maybe a bit easier. You don't have to think that hard. You can kind of put music on and get yourself into it and still pet your dog here on the side if you're at home at your computer, but you're getting started. Before that, something that's maybe a little bit less effort and a little bit easier is setting up your table, setting up your workspace. So again, putting out all of your highlighters, everything you'll need, that's a big thing. If you have all of the things that you would need with you and you have it there in your space and you don't need to go out, get up or look for things and get into other places in the house where you're going to notice other things that will lead to other distractions, setting up your table could be a nice one to add. And then first of all, something that's maybe the less or least amount of effort and the easiest for you to do, like doing some stretches, drinking some cold water, even fetching some cold water and putting it in your water bottle and setting it up at the space where you want to work. You know, something really easy that could get you into it. So we're kind of building on things that are less effortful to the thing we actually want to be. So if we do the stairs, and this is what I do a lot in sessions, because we want to empower the children that we see and the learners that we see, we actually teach them to do this. So even if you have an activity or lesson plan for today, and you're trying to teach them, like we said earlier, to do that planning in the morning in the diary, we can literally map out with them the stairs and map out exactly the instructions, the scaffolding of the assignment, right? And help them realize how they can do it in the future in themselves. Okay, so I don't know if any of you have seen me wobble around here today with a black Woolies bag. But between my husband and I, we have an inside joke that is my little autism bag. Because all of my comfort things are in that bag. And I take it everywhere with me. I take it to work. I take it to places like today. I take it to every room that I move to in my house, and it's always with me, which is why it's a Woolies bag. I don't care that much if it gets dirty or anything if I put it down somewhere. But it has all my comfort items, all the things that I would need if there's something that comes up, and everything I need to regulate my emotions. So if there is a loud noise that happens, I have my earphones in there. If there is something where I need to sit and listen, like here, and I realize I'm fidgeting, because some of our ADHD learners engage in fidgeting by picking their skin, biting their nails, biting their lips until it bleeds, right? These are things I hear daily. Now you have something in your bag, like a stress ball that you can pull out and play with. So you always have it with you. In my bag, I also have a power bank, because when load shedding hits, I am not going to make it through the day. Especially if my phone's not charged and I can't see my schedule and I don't know what's happening or what I'm having for dinner that night. I need to be connected. So what was amazing to me, actually, this happened 2 days ago. So yesterday I got the feedback. 2 days ago, a mom phoned our office, and she has a little boy who's 8. He is autistic, and we see some signs of ADHD. And in any case, he had a horrible day going to school. He cried. He never cries when he goes to school. He was crying. He was upset. The teacher phoned the afternoon and said he's been crying the whole day. Just these little things that are setting him off. And so we looked at what was happening. Okay, we decided it could be a sensory thing happening with the weather. That's the only real thing that we're picking up on, is all of a sudden there are thunderstorms. And for those of you who are from Pretoria know, there have been no rain since very recently. Okay, so the thunderstorms picked up, and he was so dysregulated he couldn't make it through the day. Keep in mind, this boy only has one friend. And he's had this one friend for a few years, and when that friend is not at school, he does not go to school. Okay, so that one friend is a safety. He makes sure that friend is there before he gets out of the car. So what happened is, okay, we can't change the weather. Right? We talked about how can we change the environment to a point where this child can function, and they don't need, they don't get overwhelmed or have meltdowns, but I can't take away the lightning. So the only thing we can add there is his little bag, and what can we put in the bag? This is going to be different for all your kids, all your learners. At the end of the day, because this was a very unusual thing that happened for him, we put in a crunchie, because that's his favorite snack, a chocolate, a little treat. We put in a crunchie. He never gets crunchies. They say he eats it very few times. It's like a very special treat, so they got him that. And then we tried to brainstorm what other things can we put in there. A thing that I think a lot of you would understand is the parents telling you that the children are just on the Xbox or on the PlayStation 14 hours a day on the weekends. That regulates him fantastically, but we can't put an Xbox in his bag and send him to school with it every day. So at the end, what we did was add a photo of his dad, a crunchie. We added a magnetic fidget toy, and then he added some of his mom's items, so some of the jewelry she was wearing that morning, actually. And he put it in his pencil case, and throughout the day, he would see that it's in there. And so this is really silly, right? It's a little bag with not a lot of stuff in it. I mean, the most expensive thing in it is probably that crunchie. And what happened is, he went to school, he didn't cry. It was again thunderstorm, lightning going around, clouded the next day when he went. And he made a new friend. For the first time in years, he went over and talked to another friend, just because he had these items with him that reminded him, oh, he's going to go home and he's going to see his parents that afternoon. He has things to keep him busy with. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be that big of an impact. I thought, okay, we're going to go through the difficult stuff that morning going to school, and then we'll take it day by day, right, and see how we can make these supports and accommodations, how we can do this. And that little bag of a photo of his dad and a crunchie and some of his mom's jewelry and a magnetic fidget toy, that gave him so much comfort that he made a new friend. He went over. So it's really amazing to see what we can do when we give the children just these few things to make life a little bit less hard. We as adults have a lot of control to say to someone, I'm busy that weekend, I'm working that weekend, I have to mark papers, I'm not coming over for the braai. But children just have to go everywhere with us. So when we can incorporate these things, these practical, tangible things, we can go a long way. So in light of all of this, if you're ever thinking about making a bag like this or using any of these things or seeing where that behavior is coming from, you have a child that's all of a sudden, even a teenager, not wanting to come into school or crying or they're having difficulties, check in with this acronym, HALTS. Okay, so HALTS. Hungry. We all get hangry sometimes. Okay, at some point, I didn't know this was part of autism, but I have very poor interoception, so not recognizing when I get hungry. And I would just pass out at school. I would just not eat because I didn't know I was hungry, and to the point that I passed out and they would have to call my parents. Okay, so checking in if a child's not actually hungry. Remember that our ADHD kids could possibly also have poor interoception skills, and they didn't realize they need to go to the bathroom, take a break, have a snack. So remind them of these. Again, with your clock, put up little symbols at specific times to help them know, oh, the arms of the clock are in this space. Did I have a snack? Or ask them, okay? Hungry, that's going to lead to a lot of, like we said, irritation. Then we go into the A, autonomy. It's a basic human need that we all need to have some control over our lives, whether that's to choose what we want to dress like, to say no when something is irritating to wear, if there's a tag scratching your skin, to say, I don't like that, I would want to do it this way. Or what about I do my speech about, this was another boy, he didn't want to do his speech. At the end of the day, we talked to the teacher, he wanted to do his speech about his dog, and then he loved doing his speech because we just had to change the topic to something he actually wanted to talk about. Okay? So autonomy. Do you have choice and do you have some control over your life? And that is, we'll talk about one thing now that happens a lot in class that make a lot of us very upset. So we have hungry, autonomy, then we have lonely. Can you imagine now this time of year when you're exhausted, every one of us has our calendars open and have counted down how many weeks is left until school closes for the year, right? We just want to go on that December holiday. So everything's busy. We have to now revise things. We have to get ready for exams. We have to make sure everyone passes. All the parents are stressing because the children are not doing how they thought they would do. Everyone is freaking out this time of year. So what do? We neglect our connections with our families. We don't make time to play with the children. We don't make time to watch a movie together because we need to get everything done for the rest of the year and we're exhausted. So we come home when we turn on the TV, which I understand I do it as well. But we just don't have that connection time as much. So what happens when a person gets lonely, again, we see kids not wanting to go to school because they don't want to separate with mom and dad. They need that connection. Can you imagine coming home and having a hard day and telling your husband, your friend, your roommate, your wife, I just had such a hard day. I was so annoyed. I shouted at this person. I didn't mean to. I feel so bad. And they tell you, oh, that was horrible to do. Just get over it. Don't do that again. Instead of telling you, oh, yeah, that sucks. Oh, how do you feel about that? What are you going to do tomorrow? Just validating what you're going through. But instead, they're trying to correct you and telling you how you made it worse and telling you, kind of pushing you away. We want to attract people. So if you notice that some of those learners this time of year, especially I'm seeing it, are having a hard time, we always check in with that connection. How much one-on-one quality time, not sitting next to mom while she's doing work on the weekend, quality one-on-one time that learner is spending with their parents or their loved ones. Okay, because that's going to really, really change how your learners behave in class and focus and what they feel they can do, the self-esteem. And then next, so we have hunger, autonomy, loneliness, tired. We've spoken about this one. None of us can focus and none of us can work when we're tired. None of us are great people when we're tired. And then, of course, the sensory that we talked about. If there's something that's bothering you, something that's scratching you, this happens sometimes with me. Like I said, I don't realize when I'm hungry. So I get very irritated on the weekends when my husband and I are going out and doing things or visiting people, and he'll say, have you eaten? And I get very annoyed because how dare you tell me, have I eaten? What is he insinuating, that I'm in a bad mood? And yes, it's because I haven't eaten. So always checking in on those sensory things. Is there something? Is it the weather? In August, I had a lot of children struggling with all the winds in Pretoria. The wind was so intense. are those other things, and how can we accommodate that via earplugs, even music, again, an exercise ball, all of these things that are physical and tangible, and we can just add in. Okay. So, those learners in the class, when you're talking about something, and you're correcting them, or you've lost your temper, and you're saying, hey, don't do that, and they watch you and laugh at you. That's the worst one. That's usually the one that breaks you as a teacher when you're trying to address something and someone laughs at you. That is a lot of the time, by the way, a sign of that connection. That child wants that connection. And now I've gotten your connection and I can't contain my happiness or my silliness, and then I laugh. Okay? So again, it's not personal. But one thing we can do as teachers when we're in that space is becoming mindful of the language we use. When we go and we target that learner who just laughed at us and we say, why are you doing that? Why aren't you doing your work? What's wrong with you today? Even though those are very hostile ones, they may not be as hostile. But when we ask these questions, a lot of our kids get overwhelmed. Okay? They don't know why. Why are you feeling this way? I don't know. Why aren't you working? I'm not sure. Like Dr. Ribeiro said, maybe you get a shrug, and that's all you get. So instead of asking questions, which are just going to further amp up all of those demands on our children and all of those things they think they need to problem solve and know what's going on to understand, and maybe they don't, I suggest moving into comments. So saying, okay, I can see you haven't started going to that student, to that learner's desk, not making a whole scene of it in front of the class, and pointing out what you would have asked in a comment form. So saying, okay, I can see you haven't started. What do you need help with? Is there anything I can help you with? Or like she said, okay, are we going to, let's take all the blue blocks and I'll help you, and we'll start with all the blue blocks and we'll go from there. Okay, so changing all of those questions that are going to send a lot of children, especially the anxious kids, and like we said, ADHD and autistic, especially the autistic ADHDers, that anxiety is probably already there. So if you go with a question, you're going to push it even further, and that learner is going to go into a fight or flight or freeze response. Or what happens is at school, that learner says, okay, and they become a people pleaser. And they say, oh, I haven't started, okay, and they start doing it, especially the girls. And they get the best marks, and they do the best, and then they come to me, and their mom says, but they come home and they cry the entire afternoon. They come home and they sleep the entire afternoon. She wakes them up for supper, they eat, they go back to bed. They don't want to do, they just sleep, they're exhausted. Do we need to go to the doctor? Do we need to check for iron levels, sugar, blood sugar, all of those things? And what happens is, a stress response that's quite normal, especially in girls, is that the girls go into people-pleasing mode, which is actually called a fawn stress response, so a fawn trauma response. So we do whatever we can do to get through that situation without more scrutiny, without more pressure. If someone walks in here with a gun right now and says, give me your gun or I'm going to shoot you, yes, we might run. One person might tackle that guy. Some of us might not remember the police's number because we're freezing. Most of us would probably go into the fawn response where we each take out our phones, hand it to the guy, and know, okay, the situation's going to end now. Doing whatever you have to do to get through that situation. So what happens is, when we put this pressure and these questions, we activate more stress, and then we get those responses that are either a child is going to laugh at you, scream at you, refuse to do something, blank, and not know what to do or where to start and get even more overwhelmed, or we create the people pleasers that do amazing at school, but once they're at home, they can't rest, they can't do anything else, because their body is exhausted. Their body thinks there's danger, so they people please. Okay. Another thing is offering choices instead of demands. And I know a lot of you who work with the younger kids have probably heard about the false control sort of suggestions where you ask a child not pick up your toys, but you ask them, I can help you pick up the dolls or the cars. Which one are we going to do first? That sort of thing, right? The control choice sort of thing to help them get to do something. But We don't necessarily have to stop with the young ones, especially in class when there's a lot to do and we want to guide learners, like we said, into helping them problem solve and figure out things at a later stage. So if we go and we ask things, or let's say you see that learner there sitting and you want to ask, why haven't you started doing your work yet? What have you been doing? Instead, we go back and see, I wonder what's going on with your work. Can I help you with this, or do you need to take a quick break? When we start and we give those suggestions, and I always tell parents specifically who I see to play a bit dumb. Your child is intelligent. They know what to do. We just need to support them through this. And to support them, we can give them suggestions. Okay, so we give them choices. We're going to start with a task. And from there, they're going to, that's that cycle of, how we're doing things and we get better and it gets easier as you go along. We just need to start that cycle to get going. And so we can offer those choices. Could it be that you need more time to go to the bathroom and take a break? Could it be that you need some movement? Maybe I can help you with this. What would you choose? So give them 2 choices and go from there. And yeah, play a bit dumb. You're not really playing dumb. They know what to do. We just need to provide those options. And then possibly one of the most effective things you can do with your ADHD learners is focusing on their strengths. So we can provide all of these things, but we can also tailor how we do the work into helping them do their work well and not just completing it for the sake of completing it. And I don't know if any of you have ever seen a learner in class or seen them anywhere else, or even seen your own children in front of, like we said, the PlayStation or the Xbox for 14 hours a day, which is the client I have now, 14 hours a day. Hyper focus. Sitting down there and being able to work on one task without taking a break, going to the bathroom, having a snack, speaking with mom, WhatsApping a friend, sitting there and just working on one thing. Okay? So this hyperfocus can be a strength of some ADHDers. And how we activate this in our learning programs, in our class, in our lessons, is by maybe allowing students to choose their own topics. Like we said, I had one boy refused to do his speech, didn't want to do it. At the end of the day, he was excited to do it because he got to do it about his dog. So they got about 3 topics to choose from. We spoke with the teacher, made an arrangement. He didn't do that. He talked about his dog. Went amazing. He was excited to do it. He can't wait to do it again. So then it's actually building self-esteem. Chunking activities. I know this is very difficult to do in schools as well. But if we can focus on, let's say, doing all of our math on 1 day a week. Some learners really, really benefit from this. Sitting and being able to do everything at once in 1 day, everything related to a specific topic or subject, or even grouping large amounts of time together to enable you to get into it, get in the zone, and then when you're done, move to a different topic. So chunking things together to work through in bigger groups so you don't have to shift between different activities the whole time. And the next thing is independent work time. If you have a student there who's in the zone, even at home, and they're working, and there's someone constantly interrupting them. I know my brother hates this. He's currently studying at UCT, doing his master's, and when he comes home for work or comes home to visit on long weekends, he brings his work, and it drives him crazy if he's visiting and he wants to sit and just do his work for the day, and we'll see him at night, and people pop in to come say hi to him. Friends pop in. Family heard his home, so they pop in to say hello, and everyone's constantly breaking up his zone where he's trying to do his work, and he cannot stop. If he sits there, he needs to get through it. Okay, so that's the one thing. And the rest is providing access to resources that could actually make the work more engaging. So if a child is sitting there and they want to Google something, allow them to Google whatever it is, because it's going to bite that curiosity and they're going to learn more. If they don't understand something, but they want to watch a video to get a different perspective on it, do it. Give access to these resources, because it actually drives them to commit to their work more, and engage more. And then possibly no other group is as creative as my ADHD clients. They are always excited and always have a different way that I thought I would do things to doing things. So when we can encourage group brainstorming in a class, if you hand out activities or lessons or projects, and they sit there and everyone can brainstorm for a few ideas together, or would it be cool if this, or what would be fun if that? And everyone writes down whatever they need on their little whiteboards. We can make it a controlled thing. We can make it a thing that runs smoothly in a group context by using things like the whiteboards or all of the highlighters and pencils. But then we get that group dynamics of sharing that enthusiasm and sharing that creativity with others to get them excited about certain projects. We can use different ways of completing lessons and give them more options on how to complete lessons where they need to be assessed. So for example, do you want to incorporate a creative element like drawing? Do you want to build something? Let's say they have to provide some be building it. So giving them more access to working in alternative ways, and then providing various opportunities or various ways to complete assignments. So one family I had a boy who was 16 turning 17, and he hated writing. Everyone is always complaining about his writing, and he does most of his work on a keyboard, so online. And in his one class, this became this one is we had to write, and the teacher said, "No, this assignment no, because this is completely disrespectful." Can't see immediately when he's made a typo, like on a computer line, if you've made a typo and have how to fix it, he can't do it. And it escalated so much at home when his parents and he got in physical. And this was an assignment options, and said, is it the end of the world if we type that? Okay. And then our ADHD learners super curious about things, and that makes it enthusiastic, like we've said, projects. Real are happening in is one way to curiosity, because then you can go home and you can Google it. You can find out more. Talked about operated in. If there are problems that we're talking about, no learner can tell you, "Oh, we're doing this, you're wasting my time," because it kind of makes sense. My brother was in grade 4. The year when the exams start, my mom would sit with him with this amazing, would end in tears and the more curious he became. And now he's studying international him, and my mom said, because, and we started Googling and this or this way, this affects. The more curious he became, and now he's studying international arbitration. Interesting. Cases. Okay. Then we look at things to get the children engaged, using things like write questions on the whiteboard and have it, as we've said, out of the box. ADHDers are so curious. If they, so what if I type out assignment and then I just copy it in writing? Let's hear them out. We have nothing to lose, really. So the main goal is support. You as a teacher, the parents, whoever, is actually going to, you're actually going to hear that they are a human being trying to advocate for themselves, and they're not just a spoiled child, a sensitive person, but they actually know what's best for them. So if they notice that something is bothering them, have a girl, an ADHD, using it, self-advocating, almost to the point where it's and say, what you said, it was unfair when you did this. Can we do it this instead? So she was good personally, and it wasn't. I need this. Can you do it this way? We tried to listen what's best for her. I listen, at her emotions, and we try and see the problem, how to support her in supporting herself. So when she says, I need earbuds because it's so distracting when the boy next to me sits and kicks my chair the whole time, or kicks the person in front of him's chair, whatever, we say, okay, let's. When you have a child in your class who says the sun is really bright, okay, when someone tells you, or a learner in your class, tells you something and you reply and they are and start to argue with you. It's not looking back. I always tell the parents I work with, your child's looking back to you or giving actually why they react a certain way. When we start to listen, we notice, oh, actually they thought they were doing the right thing. Let's talk about it. Oh, actually they didn't even notice. They were bothered, or they actually tried to, maybe they didn't ever. But listen, there's no back. That's my big thing. If they say stop, we help, we stop. We help them to advocate for what they need. If there's another learner that they need space from and they have hard on, listen to that. So just to recap and take it together, pay attention, the more around us differently, but that's all it is. And I don't know what's best. You don't know what's best. Sometimes the person, the learner, we speak up and we listen. That's when we're going to work. I didn't tell him, let's put this and this in. We worked on some things. What if this? She spoke to him, and at the end of the day, he chose the things that would go in there. And it worked well. So if I had said, let's put a stress ball and a bottle and some bubbles, providing access and providing a space where they can be heard. So, yeah, that's it in a nutshell. You'll see all of these things we talked about are little summaries, printable things that you can literally take, even self-advocacy worksheets, if you ever want to do an educational day, and teach them to ask and that you will listen. There are literally printable worksheets in that you can take for the younger kids, for the older kids, and appropriate and use, and you don't have to do any extra talk there, because I know it can be very overwhelming to do it by yourself. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Elsie, for helping us to create a happy place. I can see you live your name, Happy Place Counseling. I am going to ask you guys, if it's okay, if we only do a movement break and not a body break, because I can see we are running a little bit late on the program and I don't want to go into your afternoon time. Is it fine by you if you guys just stretch your legs? And while you are stretching your legs and while our next speaker, Mandy Harold, will be setting up, I'm going to give you guys a few gifts still that we have left. From Labels for Leaders, they empower our young minds sticker by sticker, and they have sponsored a label gift pack. Let's see who's the winner for that. 155. 155. Are you still with us? All right, 155, I think's left. 127, are you still with us? All right, so Roswell McCarthy Optometrists has a special interest and focuses on pediatric eye care and has a special interest in the behavior of the eyes. They've sponsored designer sunglasses. So let's see who gets this. 133. All right, and then from Playing and Learning, they have amazing educational and therapeutic resources. And they've sponsored, please, I apologize, I don't think I'm saying it correctly, a Billabo valued at 699 Rand. Let's see who's winning this one. 29. Number 29. Oh. The prizes are actually not done, but we're first going to give the stage to... All right, Mandy Harold is going to take the stage now, and she's going to help you to rethink about discipline. Thank you, Mandy.
There we go, there we go. Okay, so you've been sitting for a long time, but we don't really have time for a long body break. So everybody just get up where you are, have a little stretch, stretch up, stretch to the side, roll down, touch your toes if you can. Give somebody a hug, give someone a high five, give someone a smile. If you haven't stood up already, I'm coming to find you. Okay, you can sit down. So, when the presenter says, let's start with an icebreaker, and the teachers say, kill me now. Benjamin Franklin said, tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. So this is not going to be an information absorbing session. This is going to be an involvement session. Are you with me, friends? Yes. Okay. If someone next to you is saying, please, no, you can be doubly enthusiastic for them too. So let's do a quick check-in. Friends, being in our prefrontal cortex for a long period of time is exhausting. You have absorbed a lot of information already today. So let's do a quick check-in. Scale of 1 to 10 for focus and energy. Where are you at right now? Give yourself a little score, so let me help you. If focus is number 1, that looks like this, so all over the place, or focus number 10, that looks like this. Okay, so give yourself a score for how you feel focus-wise right now, 1 to 10, okay? Now give yourself a score for energy. This is 1, and this is 10. Da-da-da. I'm probably on a 9.95. Okay. I'm really hoping that the sound is going to work here. If not, it may be awkward. This is a little bit of a movement activity. It's called Follow the Leader. Have you heard about this one? Follow the leader, leader, leader. Quick story. I had a workshop that was due to happen on the 13th of September at the Johannesburg Country Club in Auckland Park. And on the Tuesday, the club caught on fire. And so the beginning of the song goes, the roof, the roof, the roof is on fire. Okay, so yeah, the roof really was on fire. All right, so let's see if this works. It doesn't. Christine, help me, please. Okay, so let's see. If it doesn't work, we don't have time. We'll just try and see if there is there an audio cable that goes in here? No? Okay, doesn't matter. Stand up anyway. Because it goes a little bit something like this. It goes, follow the leader, 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 follow the leader. Don't leave me hanging, do it with me. Follow the leader, 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 follow the leader. Hands up and down. Up and down. And wave to the left, and wave to the right. And wave to the left, and wave to the right. And give someone a hug. And give someone a high five. And give someone a smile. jump on the spot. And stop. And sit down. Okay, it's cool. It's all good. It's coming out the... Okay. It's quite a cool one to Google if you want to do it with your students. It's quite a cool... It's okay. Hands up. Down. Okay. Fast forward. Now do a quick check-in, friends, on a scale of 1 to 10 for energy and 1 to 10 for focus. Has it increased a little bit? Yes. Okay. Has it decreased? Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm sort of putting you on the spot because it's hard to go, yes, Mandy, it's decreased. Okay. This is a little bit about me. This is my family. I'm Joburg, born and bred. I have a big, loud, dysfunctional, privileged family. This is us on Saturday afternoon, and my dad, who is 84 years old, has just written a book. So there he is with my family, and that's the book that he's written. I don't know if this boomerang's going to work. There you go. They're saying hello to you. I have an older half-brother and a younger sister. Stay with me now. There are 25 years difference between my older half-brother and my younger sister. Same dad, different mum. So dad was busy for a long, long time. It's in the book. And so this is my big family. This is my little family. This guy here, this is my current husband. I had a practice husband. Sounds nicer than ex-husband, hey? I had a practice husband, and we made these two beautiful children, and then we got divorced when Ryan was 3 and Robin was 1. And Ryan just started writing his matric finals. I know what you're saying, Mandy, you look so young. How can you have an 18-year-old child? I do. So he's finishing matric, and our daughter is in grade 9 at Kingsmead College. This is my why. This is the reason that I do what I do. We have a messy, blended family. I did a talk a little while ago, a parent talk, called Facebook Families Are Fake. Because guess what? Nobody has got their shit together. Everybody is just doing the best that they can with the skills that they've got access to. And teachers, wherever you're at today, if the only thing that you do is give yourself some love today, because you are magnets for miracles. What you do every single day matters. And you don't need more information. You need more grace. You need to give yourself more grace. You need to give yourself more love because you are doing the very best that you can right now. Yes, give yourself a hand. Yes. Okay. All right, so my background is in education. I worked in schools and in education spaces for 25 years, and I've gone from educator to entrepreneur. So I am learning how to build a business, how to do consulting and coaching and speaking and facilitation and training, and that's why I'm here today. Friends, our brains are magnets for negativity. Boom. Magnets for negativity. Have you got to the end of parent interviews or some kind of feedback session, and most of it is positive? Thank you so much. Really, you've got our students, you've got our learners. Thank you for everything that you do, most of the feedback. And one parent says, meh. What do you go to bed thinking about? Meh. Our brains are magnets for negativity. It's our brain's job to keep us safe, not make us happy. Can you say that with me? It's my brain's job to keep me safe, not make me happy. One more time for our friends at the back. It's our brain's job to keep us safe, not make us happy. Friends, our brains need help. Okay, they are like magnets for negativity, and like sieves, or like Teflon, this non-stick frying pan material, for positivity. What does that mean? It means we need 10 to 20 seconds longer to sit in our positive states, because the negativity is instant. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about how do we reframe discipline. Certainly the speakers that you've heard already today have been absolutely amazing. And thank you for your time and energy and your expertise. And I really hope that you have held on to the nuggets that the speakers from up here have shared with you today. Optimal state for learning, friends, relaxed alertness. What does that mean? High challenge, low threat, low stress. This is not just for the learners and for the students and for our neurodiverse brains. It's for all of us. Okay? So I want to challenge you this afternoon, and I want you to feel safe. And as soon as we're able to take a deep breath, we are able to learn. As soon as we are able to play and be a little bit playful, our brains go, okay, I can do this. Yeah? I'm going to show you this image right at the end and ask you to think about what is your one key takeaway from the session that I'm going to be sharing with you this afternoon. So I'm prompting your brain here. Have a look. Okay? I'm going to show it to you at the end, and then I'm going to ask you to turn to a friend and tell the friend one thing. If you take away one thing with you today that makes you think differently or shifts something internally, then my job is done. Okay. Now, my friend Elsie, hi Elsie, I'm Mandy. I'm going to challenge Elsie lovingly, because Elsie was saying that breathing is boring. I think it depends on how we do belly breathing. Okay, so I'm going to show you a few things to do so that we can show Elsie that breathing can be very fun and exciting. Okay, so have a little breathe with me, friends. If wherever you're sitting, if you're uncrossing your legs so that you've got both feet flat on the floor, maybe push the back of your back and your bottom to the back of your seat so that you are feeling like you're sitting up tall, relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your jaws, relaxing your eyes. And when I worked in schools with little boys and I said, take a deep breath, and they go like this. Like there's no air up here. It's in your bellies. So if you've watched tiny babies sleep, infants, their whole bellies go up and down like this. So now if you're comfortable, put your hand on your belly and breathe with me. Are you breathing with me, friends? Are you breathing? Are you breathing? Breathing is a superpower. It is the quickest way to send a message to your brain that your body is a safe place to be. And it's not a breath, no. It's a belly breath. And so often with our children with who are neurodiverse, neurodivergent, ADHD, they are on high alert all the time. Their little bodies are showing us that things feel really hard for them. And so if all you take away today, magnets for miracles, and take a deep breath. A few images, and I've asked the organizers if they can actually send you this PDF so we can show Elsie that breathing is very exciting. Star breathing stands for smile. Take a deep breath. And relax. Can you see that star? S-T-A-R? S-T-A-R, yes. Star, smile. Take a deep breath. And relax. Just smiling, just the muscles that you use in your face to smile help your brain to feel calmer. And smiling is contagious. And guess what? It's universal. And guess what? It's free. And so when you smile at someone, they will smile back. Even if you're feeling very grumpy, it's hard to stay grumpy when someone's smiling at you. Okay. I've got a few more. So that's smile and take a deep breath and relax, and it's diaphragmatic breathing. Some more for Elsie. Let's do some balloon breaths. Breathe in. Where are your arms? Come, breathe in with me. Breathe in. And a slow exhale. It's important, friends, that the exhale is always longer than the inhale. Okay? So that's a balloon breath, a drain breath. This is when you're feeling particularly grumpy. And I came to this conference and I did not get my body break. Okay, now squeeze up your hands like this. Squeeze up your fist, squeeze up your face, breathe in. Friends at the back, do it with me. And then when you exhale, let all the angries out through your fingers. That's the drain breath. And the pretzel breath is a super favorite one. Okay, so now I'm just going to use my teacher voice. I'm just joking. Elsie, I could have listened to you all day, and I didn't actually need to come up because you are a flippin' rock star, girl. All right, so the pretzel breath, if you think about the brain like a cube, like those Rubik's Cube or like a dice, think about the brain as having 6 sides, top, bottom, front, back, left, and right. And when we do a pretzel breath like that, which is hard, but not impossible, it crosses the right, left, front, back, top, bottom. And it helps to integrate that brain and helps us to calm that nervous system. Okay. This is one of my favorite quotes. Because sometimes when we've been doing something for a very long time, we need to unlearn. So Alvin Toffler said the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn and unlearn and relearn. Yeah? Learn, unlearn, relearn. So I'm encouraging you today, superheroes, what do you need to unlearn today? What have you been doing in your classroom space with your learners, with your own children, with your mother-in-law, that you can maybe unlearn? And like we would look at our toolboxes to see what's in your toolbox, maybe you need a software update. Maybe the way that you've been doing things in the space of learners with attention deficit and with neurodiversity, maybe that needs a software update. And you've got so many amazing tools already today. So I'm going to hopefully add 1 or 2 more into your boxes. For the next moment or two, I want you to turn to the person next to you and tell them how you are experiencing this beautiful neurodiverse brain in your situation at the moment. Okay? Turn to the person next to you. If you don't want to talk to yourself. You're probably your best company. Go for it. All right. Let's take a nice deep breath in. Relax your shoulders, relax your jaws, relax your eyes. Take another deep breath in. By the way, you know that you can also do a Spider-Man breath. And a Superman. And a butterfly. Are we still boring? I'm just joking. Would anybody like to share an insight about the neurodiverse brain that you are holding space for right now? Going once. Going twice. Going once. Okay. Cool. Hopefully you got a chance to engage a little bit about where you're at. Because guess what? It's not about what this person is saying from up here. It's about what you hear and about what resonates with you on your journey. Learning meets you where you're at, friends. So exactly where you're at today, you're in the right place to learn or unlearn. Yeah? Okay. This guy's name is Simon Sinek. He's actually really cool. If you haven't heard of him, Google him. Does lots of great podcasts. He's the optimism guy. He says, great organizations don't hire skilled people and motivate them. They hire already motivated people and inspire them. So I'm hoping that you feel a little bit inspired today and that you take that back into your school, your space, your class, your office, your colleague tomorrow. Simon Sinek has had an ADHD diagnosis. And what he says, or an ADD diagnosis, he says that how hectic is it when we say that a child or an adult is that there's a deficit and a disorder. If you had to walk around with a label going, hi, I have a deficit or I have a disorder, how dysfunctional is that? Simon says this is his superpower. So let's take what we've been thinking about for the brain and what our esteemed colleagues have already told us today and think about it differently. Everybody is doing the best that they can. Those learners in your class are not waking up in the morning and saying, how can I irritate the crap out of my teacher today? They are doing their best. And it's how you are feeling about that behavior that is going to make a difference between how you show up or not. As Elsie spoke about that halt, that is a lot about you as well, not just about the children. So I am passionate about social and emotional learning. I think we do lots of other things in schools very well. The standardized assessments, the visual arts, the concerts, the athletics days. I think we need to do the social and emotional learning better. And guess what? It was not taught to us. You teach as you were taught. You parent as you were parented. You are doing the best that you can. Maya Angelou says, do the best that you can until you know better. And when you know better, do better. So let's do better, friends. Let's not just go back into the staff room and go, oh, I don't get paid enough to do this. Because you don't, and you never will be. And that's not why you signed up for this profession in the first place. You have got such an amazing responsibility of holding children's lives in your hands every single day. And that is priceless. And you are never going to get paid what you deserve. I think teachers have got a harder time than like neurosurgeons. Because if you're a neurosurgeon, you have one brain at a time and it's asleep. And how many brains do you have at a time? And then they're neurodivergent brains and ADHD brains. You're never going to get paid enough, ever. Ever. Okay, that's not why we're doing this. Discipline, friends. Redefining, relooking at, reframing discipline. Dr. Becky Bailey says, discipline is not something that we do to children. It's something that we help them develop from within. We want children to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, not because they've got a little reward or a sticker or a threat, not because, we don't want them to behave because they're so scared because they're going to get a demerit. That doesn't work. I did some volunteering at Princess Alice Adoption Home a few years ago, and from tiny babies, when one was upset, the other one, I'm talking 18 months, 2 years old. One baby's upset, the other baby would drag over a blanket and comfort their friend. Fast forward 10 years, and what do our children go? What do I get for being good? Has the child changed, or has the system changed? Okay, we need something, discipline needs to be something that is intrinsic. And that starts with the adult. Adult first, child second. Say that with me. Adult first, child second. One more time. Adult first, child second. We can't teach skills we don't have. And this was not role modeled for us. Talking about our feelings. When we were young and we were having a hard time, our parents would be like, you, take that face. Go away. Come back when you're happy. If you're still doing that, what's the message there? I can't deal with these big feelings. I did a talk earlier this year that was called My Favorite F Word. My favorite F word is feelings. I was teaching grade 0 once, and a little boy said to me, I know a word that starts with a F. And I held my breath. And he said, fum. Discipline is something that we have historically associated with punishment. Okay? If I say, you are going to have a disciplinary hearing, what do you think? That's what we've associated the word discipline with. If you want discipline in your class, what are you looking for? Order and respect. If we zoom out, friends, look at this word discipline. It comes from the word disciple, which means to teach, not to punish, not to make children feel bad because I don't get paid enough to deal with your. So I'm going to look at two systems. Our brains learn in opposites. So I'm going to look at two different systems. Friends, I know that it's hot in here. I know that you've been sitting for a long time. So if you need a wiggle around, if you need, Dr. Ribera said in the morning that there's not one person in this room that's been like, I will listen to you because you are the authority and I will not move or blink or breathe. Please feel free if you want to stand up, if you want to just wiggle around, if you've had enough, you don't have to be here right now. No one's leaving. Okay, let's go. So, I'm going to look at two different discipline systems. There is the traditional discipline, which is like my way or the highway, which is fear-based. And there is a more conscious or mindful, it doesn't matter what the terminology is. I'm a conscious discipline certified instructor, doesn't matter. It's being more mindful of how I behave because adult first, child second. Say it with me. Adult first, child second. Okay. So in a traditional discipline system, we've got this like, I've been good. What do I get for being good? good children are acknowledged and praised, and they get badges and stickers and scrolls and pats on the back, and they are marvelous. And they get acknowledgement from their parents and their teachers, and they are such good children. Good children are deserving. Bad children are not deserving. Okay? Where does that come from? It doesn't come from the children. It comes from the adults. Adult first, child second. So there's a traditional discipline system, and this is a conscious discipline approach. What does that mean? Traditional discipline says that we can make learners behave. We can make them behave if we just have the right reward or sticker or star chart. Rules govern behavior. Friends, if rules govern behavior, why are our prisons full? Conflict is a disruption. We need to avoid it. Avoid the conflict. And you wonder why parents are struggling with like sibling rivalry. Because at home is the only place that brothers and sisters and brothers and brothers and sisters can give each other a little biff and not be sent to the principal's office. Conflict in and of itself is not a bad thing. Okay? But that's what a traditional discipline system says. A conscious discipline system says controlling yourself is possible and can profoundly impact others. I'm spending more and more time in the corporate space. The encouraging thing is, if you can work in a school, you can do anything. Because those corporates that are like behind a desk, sorry if there are any corporates in the room, the corporates that are behind their computers and they think their lives are so hard because they've got a deadline. And I'm like, welcome. Spend a day in a school and then you can come and talk to us. If you walk past a boardroom in a corporate space and the boss, the CEO, is losing their mind, do you look at them and go, wow, what an amazing leader? Sure, they've got it all together. No. Controlling yourself is possible and can profoundly impact others, friends. Self-control. The children are not making your life miserable. They are triggering something inside you that is unresolved. That's an invitation to you to get some help. Speak to a counselor, a social worker, a therapist. This comes from when we were little because we were told, you're having a hard time, go away, come back when you're happy. Adults first, child second. Say it with me again. Adults first, child second. We can't teach skills we don't have. Okay. Here's another table saying the same thing. Oh, I forgot to say that one. Relationships and connections govern behavior, not rules, not the policy. Sorry, sir. I didn't mean it like that, you know. I'm not being disrespectful. I'll open up my mouth and swap feet. The thing about relationships and connections, it's not like the policies help, the code of conduct helps, not the rules of the classroom, the agreements. Have agreements in your classroom. This is how we keep each other safe. Because if I say to you, these are the rules, then rules are made to be. Thank you. You're such an amazing audience. Look at you. Relationships and connections govern behavior. Think back to your school days. Think back to those times that you felt that you were being the best version of yourself. Think about the relationship and the connection that you had with the adult in that space. It could be a class teacher, subject teacher, coach, counselor, social worker. When were times that you felt seen at school? I can guarantee you that those were your best memories and your best subjects. because you felt connected. So it's not the rules that govern behavior, it's the relationships and the connections. Okay, I often think about this in a staff room context, and I'm encouraging you to go and be ambassadors for this in your schools, in the staff rooms, at the meetings, with parents. Instead of saying, she keeps others from learning, and you know everybody has the right to learn. We know that. Instead of saying she keeps others from learning, say she needs more individualized work to be successful. Think about the skill that children are missing. If there's a little person who's with a diverse brain, neurodiverse brain, who is struggling to get started, they're not being lazy. They're just struggling with task initiation, time management. How many adults in the room struggle with task initiation when you need to write reports? And I'm echoing my previous speakers here. Children are doing their best. She's disrupting this class. She needs help to stay on task. She's just plain lazy. She needs help to get started. So if this sounds familiar and your colleagues are speaking poorly about other learners, challenge them lovingly. Say, wow, do you think something else could be going on here? All behavior is communication. These children are trying to tell us something. We need to be interpreters, not judge and jury, and I'm going to chop off your head because you're awful. Okay, I need 7 volunteers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come up, please. Let's go. 1, 2. I can't even offer you a prize, but I'll give you a high five instead. 1, 2, 3, 4. Friends, don't keep us hanging. There we go. And we need 1 more. Amazing. I love you. Oh, ma'am, I thought you were going to come be my volunteer. Oh, she did. Give her a hand. Yay, there she comes. All right. So now, I want to, let me go. 1, 2, 3. How many we got? 2, 4. It's been a long day. 2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, friends. I'm going to make this as painless as possible. All right. So now, who are the ECD, pre-primary, early childhood educators in the room? A few. All right. Who has been a parent of a small human under the age of 3? Okay, more of you. All right. Who is still a parent of a child under the age of 3? These people need extra love. Okay. So now I'm going to do 2 scenarios with our 7 volunteers. If children are learning to read, all different kinds of children, where does that reading process start? Where does step 1 start when you're learning to read? I'll give you a clue. Okay. In utero. This is where children start to learn to read. Have you ever seen those preggy mommies who put baby Mozart earphones on their bellies? That's a very first world issue. So, when babies they're exposed, they can hear sounds. Okay, so this is where the learning to read process starts, step 1. Yes? Okay, step 2. My baby's born. Oh, look at you. This is where the baby starts to look at facial expressions. They can only see black and white early on. So there's sounds. You're singing lullabies to them. They are starting to learn to read, friends, from early on. Here's step 2. Step 3, fast forward, welcome to school. This is pre-primary school. We do lots of auditory games because you need to do auditory games, hey, Jax, before you learn to read. So all the pre-reading, the auditory games, what starts with what starts with what starts with a fum, not fum. That's why English is a stupid language. So we are learning to read, yes? Yes. Okay. Step 4, we go to grade 1. Yay. We're in grade 1. Congratulations. You're in grade 1. We go to grade 1, and now the formal reading process is starting. We start to make letters, and then we put the letters together, and they make words. And remember that magical experience when you're putting 3 letters together, and they make a word. And then you put 3 words together, and they make a sentence. And it's amazing how many cat sat on the mat sentences you can come up with. Parents in the room of grade 1 children, you also need some extra love. And maybe a gin and tonic. All right. And step 7, now you put, thank you for coming up. I appreciate that. Give this lady a hand. She's amazing. Now, so now we put the words together, sentences. Sentences make paragraphs. Paragraphs make stories. How is that? Now, what happens if something goes wrong along the way? What do? We go backwards. We say, I wonder what could have happened somewhere along the line. Is there an auditory issue? Could there be something visual? There's no blending happening here. What's happening? We go backwards. We try and figure it out. Where does it come from? Okay, you with me, friends? All right, now, scenario 2 is discipline. Now you need to be disciplined. You need to learn discipline. Step 1, now welcome to the new school year. I'm Mrs. Harold, and these are the rules in my class. Okay? Do you understand the rules? No, you never need to do this. We've spent a day talking about the rules. Do you understand the rules? Yes, okay. Okay. Step 2. Sure. Now we've got a child with a little bit of neurodiversity going on who doesn't necessarily toe the line. So now we're not listening to the rules in Mrs. Harold's class. Right, now you're getting a warning.
Thank you, Mrs. Harold.
Right. Step 3, this child is never absent. Ever. And they are the button pushers and the triggerers and the in someone else's face, up their nose, on their book. This is the, yeah, you with me? You can see this child? You're just representing the child. You are not the actual child. Step 4, this one never listens. Now it's October, and I've been saying the same thing since January. How many times must I tell you? Okay? Now we are getting serious. Now we are getting the code of conduct, and now you are on a break detention. Now, step 4, break detention is not working. Now we need to call in the big guns. This is head of department. This is escalating to the principal. We are phoning your parents. Now we go to internal suspension. Now don't look at me like that. And now we're going to external suspension. And now maybe this is not the right school for you. What do we do when things go wrong? Maybe on day 1, this little person had some bad news at home. Maybe there's some trauma happening. Are you with me, friends? Let's go back. Just making the consequences more and more harsh is not going to teach these children anything. It helps you to feel better. You see, I made them feel bad. Discipline does not mean to punish. It means to teach. Can you give our friends a very warm round of applause? Thank you, everybody. I'm going to give you another another breathing activity. Right, put your hand out like this, and we're going to trace up and down your fingers. Breathe in and out, and in and out, and in and out. Feel it in your belly. Breathe in and out, and last one, in and out. Thank you, friends. All right. Children cannot act differently until they are seen differently. Think about those little people that are pushing your buttons. They are not deliberately trying to walk around with a label of I've got a deficit, sorry, I've got a disorder. They are saying teach me, they're saying see me. They're not saying judge me. They're not saying hold up a score out of 10 like you do at the Olympics. They're not saying judge me, they're saying see me. Children are never looking for attention. They're looking for connection, and they settle for attention when nothing else seems available. So when your colleagues in the staff room are going, they're just attention seeking, say, I think they're connection seeking. And how do we give them a person that they feel safe with? Children need one person that they feel safe with at school. And talk about transitions. Now we start in January. Now they've formed such a beautiful connection. And then, oh, sorry, you're just getting it. And now it's January. Different grade, different teacher. Begin again. Our system needs some deep work. Okay. I am starting to wrap up, friends. How many oopses are allowed for? So what does oops mean? OOPS stands for our opportunity to practice skills. Oops. Oops. My staff at the end, when I left my school, they made me a crown, and it had oops on it. Because I was the oops queen. I was the headmistress in assembly that made oopses all the time. Oops, I forgot the birthday. Oops, oops. Not oops, I'm so sorry, I'll make it up to you. We over-apologize. If you've lost your cool with your own children, when you've had a chance to take a deep breath, you can say to them, that was not the best version of me, and I know I can do it better next time. You don't have to grovel. We all make mistakes. We need to normalize that. Yeah? Oops. So how many oopses are allowed for in these spaces, in a physical domain? So when a child is learning, all children, when they are learning a motor skill, if they are physically able to learn a motor skill like this, riding a bike, hanging on the monkey bars, how many oopses do we let them do before they master a skill? Thank you. As many as needed. If you've got a little guy, a little girl who still needs training wheels on their bike, you don't say to them, sorry, my sweetie, no Tour de France for you. Okay. Cognitive domain. Learning an academic skill, and when you're at a well-resourced school and there's an academic support department, when parents can afford the OT, the speech, the physio, the play therapy, how many oopses do we let them do in this space? As many as the school allows. Yeah? What about in a social domain? I worked at a school where it was very, please, thank you, morning ma'am, morning sir, doff your cap, stand back when an adult comes through. I mean, I have an 18-year-old, and when we leave a function, I'm still saying, say thank you for having me. So please, thank you. How many times do we do this? As many times as we need to, because it's repetition. When you say it's October, how many times must I tell you? How many times does that brain need to build the neural pathway? Like 2,000 times. And you wonder why we're all walking around like this. Unless it's playful. If it's playful, when we can decrease the threat, increase the challenge, children learn optimally. Okay, so we figured this out, right? So physical, cognitive, as many times as we can. Social, please, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, please help me with this, friends, because I still can't figure this out. Why, when it comes to learning an emotional skill in the emotional domain, how many oopses do we let this little person have? The answer is not as many times as they need. The answer is, you are in my face, go away and come back when you are happy. This child is just saying, I need help. I'm still learning how to regulate myself. I'm going to just have a quick check to see how we can start to wrap this up. Discouraged children are disruptive. Disconnected children are dangerous. They're dangerous to themselves and they are dangerous to each other. And they may do what they are told to do while they're at school, but as soon as they are out of school, what is going to happen? This is big, friends. If you've got a little person in your school that's going, see me, see me, see me, see me, they are looking for connection. They're not looking for another demerit because it doesn't work. So, for a moment or two, I want you to connect with the person next to you. So this is my takeaway. What is resonating with you? This is my takeaway slide. So let's talk quickly to the person next to you. What is resonating with you about the topic that I'm sharing this afternoon? Quickly talk to somebody. If you see someone doesn't have a friend, talk to them. It's like less is more, hey? Like rather do less and make it sink than talk about 45,000 times.
They're going to remember. I'm going to remember.
I literally moved back and see what's happening. Shame. I was wondering where you were.
We'll just have to get you again, maybe.
Yes, please. Hustle in. Quickly. Okay. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I've got one more thing to ask you to do. Actually, two. This is another one. Put your hands up like this. We're going to go, peace begins with me, okay? We're going to do it 3 times, nice and slowly, everybody, all together. Ready? Take a deep breath. Peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. One more time. Peace begins with me. Take a deep breath. Okay. Right. I loved when Elsie said, don't take it personally. Q-tip stands for quit taking it personally. It's not about you. When a little person who is pushing your buttons, rolling their eyes, poking their friend, kicking their friend, punching themselves, Q-tip. Q-tip is like the Americans call it an earbud. Not that we should do anything that the Americans do. Sorry if there's an American in the room. Q-tip stands for quit taking it personally. Yeah? I want to read you a poem and then we're going to wrap up. Friends, I've come to a frightening conclusion. I am the decisive element in the classroom. It is my personal approach that creates the climate. It is my daily mood that makes the weather. As a teacher, educator, facilitator, counselor, therapist, school leader, I possess tremendous power to make a child's life miserable or joyous. I can be a tool of torture or an instrument of inspiration. I can humiliate or humor, hurt or heal. In all situations, not just when I've had coffee. In all situations, it is my response that decides if a crisis will be escalated or de-escalated, and a child humanized or dehumanized. So are you willing, friends? Are you willing? Are you willing to see conflict as a call for help instead of disrespect? Are you willing to allow yourself to make mistakes with grace and humor instead of condemnation? Are you willing to see children as capable of self-regulation instead of needing to be controlled? And are you willing to see connection as next steps? Breathe. Talk about what you've heard today. You can visit consciousdiscipline.com for more information. There are loads of free resources. I'll ask the organizers to send you those breathing icons, the star, the drain, the balloon, and the pretzel. And then I will ask you to follow me on social medias. I'm the Connection Coach on Instagram, and I play on times, much to my children. For now, can you fix them? Children with neurodiversity and attention challenges are asking to be long road. I hope you're still learning when I'm a gogo. Gogo, please, God. You're doing it, friends. You are miracles. And sees, and I had the privilege of spending this time with you.
Mandy gave me permission not to apologize. I'm not going to apologize that we ran a little bit late. We're not going to do the Q&As. If you want to do that, we will include the Q&As in the slideshow QR. I've been saying that wrong the whole morning. Please, as well, I saw that there's a lot of with the He also said she wants us to include those breathing exercises, slideshows, and then we will send the Q to you guys as well with the Q&As. Back. Please scan that and complete of the. Give yourself a hand. Well. Absolute information overload, an absolute. But like they say, applying the knowledge is power. I challenge you to the knowledge that you gain today and put it into. But before you do that, more prizes that we quickly go. Club gave. Gave us lesson, but that envelope was already handed out when I was supposed to hand out the HUD. So already handed out oil now. See who gets that. 128. next Saturday, there's an amazing reading difficulty workshop that is sponsored by Wiggle Education, and we're going to give that out to you guys as and 38. Number 65. $141. Very last prize today is 50 E. For the day. But now, amazing opportunity to they are going to be here until 3. Please use this opportunity to go and see what amazing things tools are out there, and that gives solutions. Please go have a look at them as well. So Gandhi said, be the difference that you want, be the difference that you want to see. I challenge you to go out and be to see. I challenge you to go out and be, make a difference. Thank you so much.